guys, Christine here. I am super excited to go live today because this is something I've been planning for a while to talk to you guys about. So we used they're technically called the WhoHQ books. Got the WhoHQ, I know it's backwards there. But I call them the Who Was, What Was, Where Was books. And I think that's what people mostly know them as. But we used these for American history last year and we had the best time. We had a baby last fall. She's 10 months old now, which makes me super sad. And so I knew we needed something a little bit more laid back for our school year last year. I didn't want to be super structured with a lot of things. So these books came in super, super well for our American history. We covered the Revolutionary War time period. So we started with the Boston Tea Party. And then we learned about the Declaration of Independence. And then we learned about some historical people as well. So the biggest reason why I love these is because my kids actually retained the information in them. A big struggle I had in school was learning history because it was boring. I did not have fun with it. Therefore, I wasn't retaining any of the information. So I really, really loved doing this with my kids. So, like I said, we started with the Boston Tea Party. So it does talk about Paul Revere in here as well, which we also read his book. So these kind of go together, which is something else that's really, really great, is that the books do flow together really, really well. So it does kind of repeat some of the information, but in a good way. It wasn't like it was just, you know, very repetitive. So we went through, when we did the Boston Tea Party, we made our own little tea chests, and I just used just shoe boxes, and we covered them in paper. And then any other coloring sheets. My fourth grader, I had him write a bunch of stuff that he wrote or that he read in all of the books. And so he would keep that kind of stuff in the tea chest, which was also pretty fun. So it had their coloring sheets, some stuff that he wrote on. Because I did this with kindergarten and fourth grade because we like to combine subjects when we can between the two, even with there being such a big gap. So, so we used both of those first, and then we moved on to George Washington and the Declaration of Independence. So we read those two next. So I really wanted to talk about George Washington because there's a lot in here about just the beginning of our country, because it talks about him a lot too, but it's talking a lot about the beginning of our country. And so I really wanted to focus on that as well. And then same thing with the Declaration of Independence. And then that flowed really well into talking about Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson too. So when we read about George Washington, we really, really wanted to go to Mount Vernon. It's not too terribly far from where we live, but it just didn't work out. So in my blog post, I actually linked a virtual tour for you guys to Mount Vernon, which my kids loved. It was like the next best thing for them to do the virtual tour. And then we also used something called a battle box, which I also linked for you guys in my blog post. And that was neat because it has an actual copy of the Declaration of Independence. And it has some other cool things like some coins and just some other historical papers and whatnot. So it really works for this entire unit because it talks about the coins. And I think it even has some of the acts and stuff like that, like the Stamp Act and all of that, the papers from the time period with the Boston Tea Party and everything too in there. So that was really, really cool. So like I said, next we talk about Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin. So I did not know much about Thomas Jefferson. I don't know about you guys, but I never really learned much about his life or anything. So that was super interesting to learn about him and learn about his family. And just everything about the history with Thomas Jefferson was really, really neat. And you'll see one of my son's drawings from him in my blog post. And then we also talk about Ben Franklin. And obviously he's really cool to learn about because of all of his inventions. There was stuff that I had no idea that he invented that they talked about. And it was also really cool to talk about how he became rich and also that he didn't take money for a lot of the things that he invented because he was like, I don't need this money. So he kind of did it for the good of mankind, which was also really neat. So we use these 6 books primarily. And another book that just came out, which I don't have yet, it was just released, I think, last month in June, was the book on the Constitution. So that was not out yet, and it killed me. So we have yet to read that one, but that's also another really good one. This coming school year, we're going to be covering more like the Civil War era. So I plan on getting There's a book about Abraham Lincoln, and there is a book about the Underground Railroad and some cool stuff like that. So we plan on using those books too this coming year. So I also linked for you guys some other books that we use that weren't a part of this book series. And there's just a few of them, and more of it was just because of hands-on purposes, and also because nothing in this talked a whole lot about the different battles that were fought during the Revolutionary War, and that was something that I wanted to cover with my kids as well. So we had so much fun. Like I said, they retained the information that was in this book, which was something that was really phenomenal, that a lot of curriculum that we have found, they are not just retaining information. I read this out loud to them. We did use this as a read aloud, certainly within my older son's reading level. So it is something that we've gotten other books when we travel places and whatnot, that he's read them on his own, but I did use these as read aloud so that we could do it with both kids. So yeah, so we had a lot of fun. I hope that you guys in the comments tell me which books that you like from the series. If you've used it for any school curriculum, or if you just used it for fun, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.